Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another
Hello.
Unplugged live session. How are you today?
Well, very well.
How were
I mean,
how was your week? How were your busy days or not? So how have you been?
eh, all day's been busy, always. Today, a lovely tour through the countryside. Yesterday, it was a day off, so busy too with my family. We went to a pool and then we went to the shopping mall. I mean, the usual. We have so many options, right? Okay, but today is Monday, so we're gonna share here some nice tips and
Yes.
suggestions with
Another
our lovely.
another
Oh,
great week is starting, and it's curious because this is the time where a lot of people go for some vacation. A lot of people travel through the country. A lot of people get out of their comfort zone to visit new places and other things. And Sergio, you've been on the road,
oh yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about what you've
he,
seen
he,
at
he went to
the total opposite side of the
yeah.
country?
He went to
Yep.
paradise.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm already missing it a little bit, to be honest. Although Paradise was a little bit
I'll send you
windy.
pictures tomorrow. Okay.
Yep,
Where,
that
where,
should be
where did
great.
you go? We are eager to know. Where did you go? Say it out loud.
So basically, I went down to the Algarve.
Here we go.
Well, and it was a very interesting week to say the least. Well, you guys have been busy with tours. I have been busy just putting my towel on the sand and hitting the beach and the swimming pool and whatnot, spending some quality time with the family, because at the end of the day, that's what's important. And we go on vacation, we travel, we go to different places, to different destinations, because not only we want to relax, that's the goal of some people, the vast majority of people, I would say, but at the same time, we want to create some very fond memories with our loved ones. And it's a bonding moment. And this is actually one of the reasons why we say that each person has its own different travel plans, travel ideas, goals when visiting a place, a country, going to a location, etc. And I just spent last week. I'm sorry I wasn't able to visit you, Gabriel, because I was in the opposite side of the Algarve, basically.
Yeah,
I was
neither do I.
far
I
closer.
was not
I
able.
was far.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was far closer to Spain than I was from you. In
yes,
fact, I was
definitely.
less than 5 minutes away from Spain,
Yeah,
in a cute little place that is frequently, not frequently, but it's visited in, I would say, a higher ratio by locals rather than by tourists, even though there is
yeah.
a fair share of tourism happening over there, international tourism happening over there. And I went to the cute little place of Monte Gordo, which is just south of, funny that I mentioned this, because I was looking at the map and it's just south of what they call Monte Fino. So the slim mount and the fat mount, basically. Everyone goes to the fat one. Nobody cares about the slim one because, well, we need some curves to have some history, right?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it was an interesting week for me because, well, even though I was relaxing a little bit and spending time with the family, the tour guide in me and the tour operator in me also kept his eye out and his ear out for some of the things that I thought were going to be amazing, some of the things that I thought were going to be interesting, and some of the things that, well, even I had some misconceptions about it. And that's what I'm bringing a little bit over here today, because we all have certain biases, and
Yeah.
we sometimes either push for something that ends up not being that great of a thing, of a deal, or too spectacular, or we sometimes neglect things because the first impression is not a very positive one, but we get pleasantly surprised by the situation that we just experienced. So I want to bring two topics with me, things that two, maybe three, in the next 4 or 5 minutes to cover. So the first one is actually my choice of accommodation. And the choice of accommodation for me has always been hotels, even though I'm coming with the family and a small toddler, a 2-year-old. We always choose the hotel for one simple thing. It's family time, it's vacation time. We don't want to be bothered with cleaning up the room. We don't want to be bothered with cooking and something like that. And so we decided to go for a hotel because of the convenience. But also, not only that, this time around, we actually decided to do a what we call a half pension, meaning that one of the meals was included, and we opted to include dinner in each one of the days. It was included in the accommodation price. We basically just had to go downstairs, hit the restaurant, and that was it. It was easy. It was convenient for us, and especially for people traveling with little kids, with toddlers and whatnot. Just not having to cook and being in such close proximity to the room, it makes for a much more relaxed week for anyone traveling this way. If you are going to a place where you have quite a few restaurants nearby as well, that might also be a very good option. But the peace of mind of not having to cook at the end of the day, or to get back home earlier, or to the hotel earlier because you need to prepare a meal, leaves more time for exploration. And this is actually a topic that we covered over here in the past. Each hour that you spend on holidays costs
Hmm.
time, costs money. And sometimes by having the meal included with the accommodation saves you an hour or so in food prep, in cooking and whatnot, that you can spend that hour just exploring your whereabouts. And when you're going to a place to relax, like what we just did, at the end of the day, that amounts to, let's say, 1 hour of cooking and whatnot per day. That amounts to 6 hours. At the end of the
Hmm.
6 to 7 hours, at the end of one week, that's almost like a full day of exploration that we
Hmm.
had extra just because we decided to include one of the meals with the accommodation. So this was one of the things that was really great for us. We didn't have to worry about meal. We had fish, meat, vegetarian options, salads, cheese, you name it, the whole deal. And it was, at the end of the day, what we spend extra by having the meals included, that meal included at the end of the day with the accommodation, just not having to worry about food preparation. And we could just sit at the table and immediately pick a plate and go and grab something to eat. Feeding our child was also really effortless. So all in all, it was an amazing experience. Second thing that I want to cover, it's actually the week that we got going down to the Algarve. So last week we had just come out of a sort of a mini heat wave that lasted 10 days in the Algarve, and the weather was surprisingly good for a person coming from the north of Portugal. I always have to put this caveat because over here
Hmm.
we are used to crappy weather, basically, I would say 300 days per year, whereas in the Algarve it's the opposite. It's good weather 300 days per year. So the water temperature, I've talked with Gabriel just before going down, and he told me that the water temperature rose from, and this was in Faro, from 16 Celsius to 23 Celsius, which was
Hmm.
even a little bit higher at the place where I was staying in Montegordo,
Yeah.
because it's right at the border with Spain, so a little bit closer to the Mediterranean, therefore a little bit warmer water. And the water was, I could say, I can vouch for this, spectacular. Um, I spent, I don't know, if I haven't, if I didn't need to look after my son and whatnot, I could easily stay 1 hour in the water, in the ocean, at Praia do Barril, which is an amazing place, by the way. I think that it's definitely worth it. And just the access to that beach is also amazing. And it makes for people who have little kids, they will know, because there's a little train that you can book. You
Yeah.
can purchase a little ticket to just go from the entrance of the beach all the way to the sand. And so that is really amazing. Our son, he absolutely loved it, going on the little choo-choo. So it's a nice memory as well. And it's a beach that has very decent infrastructure. So you have restaurants, you have locker rooms, you have bathrooms, everything that you might need to spend an entire day at the beach. It's a great place. Montegordo is basically the same, minus the train. And the little train ride, it's something like 5 to 10 minutes, and you're crossing the wetlands over there, basically the eastern end of Ria Formosa, which is very beautiful to see. We
Hmm.
actually went in at the high tide and came back at the low tide, so the difference was very stark for us, and it was very cool to see that. The final thing has to do with um, the restaurants. So obviously we have, because we booked a hotel, we had the breakfast is included for most. This is very common practice over here in Portugal. Most of the restaurants, they will include breakfast with your accommodation. So that is one less meal to worry about. And we spent a day out exploring. We went to little towns. We went to visit family as well. And we went to Vila Real Sant Antonio a couple of times, which is right next to Monte Gordo. It's a less than a 5-minute drive from Monte Gordo to Vila Real Sant Antonio, which, by the way, it's very beautiful, very charming, and it has people call it the Little Lisbon for a reason, because it follows the same architectural style of Lisbon, and it was also rebuilt after the same famous earthquake of 1755. So it's even called the Setecentista, the 700th town. They have a sort of a medieval Renaissance fair over there happening that throws back to the 700s. So yeah, it's a very beautiful town, and we actually had lunch over there. Mind you, it's Algarve, it's south of Portugal. It's going to be very much sea-oriented food, but that doesn't mean that there isn't meat delicacies or anything like that to discover. In fact, my very first meal when I hit the Algarve was actually pork. So, and a very specific type of pork. We could call it a secret. So
secret.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. But one of the things that we often said over here is that we sometimes bash on restaurants that have those pictures of the foods, of the plates in their menus and in front of the doors and whatnot. And the realization that I've come to is that this is true, but it's only applicable when we're talking about big towns, big cities. Porto and Lisbon, for example, I have no problem telling you, if you see a restaurant like that, just run the opposite direction. There's probably better alternatives, more genuine places, mom and pop shops just around the corner for you to enjoy, more authentic, more savory, and more often also quite a bit more affordable meal just around the corner from those tourist traps, so to speak. When we're talking about restaurants that have pictures of the plates, pictures of the food in smaller towns, it's actually the opposite. And I have come to this realization because a couple of the places that I've been to in Vila Real Sant Antonio, it was these types of restaurant. In fact, you'd be very hard pressed to find a restaurant that doesn't have a picture of food in their menu outside of the restaurant. And that is actually for a simple reason. These restaurants are actually managed by elderly people. So these are persons that want to communicate. Their entire lives, they basically always spoke exclusively Portuguese because that's what they hosted for most of their lives. And they are now in their late 50s, 60s, sometimes even very early 70s. They're still cooking that same delicious food that they've been preparing for 30, 40, sometimes 50 years now. But they have this problem where they want to communicate with the international travelers. And rather than learning not just one, but many different languages, they could start with English or French or Italian. Who knows? There's plenty of languages out there to learn. Obviously, English is going to be the first one. But instead of learning, which is going to be much more difficult for them, they actually just decided, no, it's easier for me to communicate by just taking a picture of the dish, putting it next to the description, and that's it, the name of the dish, and this is the picture. If you like it, you can order it. If you don't, you can order the next one. So it's more of a communication issue rather than something that can be used as a signal of a tourist trap or a restaurant from someone that is running it, that is an international cook, someone who arrived very recently. In smaller towns, this is actually the way that those old restaurant managers and cooks and chefs, they have to communicate what the dish is all about. A picture, it's often said that a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I can tell you, I had amazing sea bass down there. I also had an amazing octopus down there, polvo alagareiro, the sea bass, robalo na grelha, amazing, both of them. And I also had swordfish. And yeah, all in all, very happy with my decision of going to one of those restaurants. Something that initially was going to be something a bias that I had, a misconception that I
Mhm.
had was that all of the restaurants are going to be the same. No, there's actually a difference between restaurants who use pictures of food in big towns versus restaurants who use pictures of foods in small towns. So don't be afraid to try it, because most of the time these places are just run by the locals. Oh, and by the way, one of the things that I also use as a to gauge the perception, if they have those disposable paper cloths on the
Hmm.
table. That's always a very good sign when you see those, because it means that once you had your fill, they just wrap it up, throw it out, and that's it. This is something that is very typically Portuguese. So if you have the paper cloth on the table, and even if there's food, there's pictures of food on the menu outside on the blackboards and whatnot, just go for it. I would say it's a very safe bet. So these are
Okay.
some of the recommendations that I have. Spent an amazing week down there. Can't say that I did much of the exploring this time around, especially with a toddler. My goal was more to relax and just build up some energy for the coming peak season, which we've been getting quite a bit of comments, requests on over the last couple of days and weeks. I actually even answered a couple of them, and that's the extent of my work during the holidays. So it was just getting back to some more pressing issues, people who were reaching out to me asking for tours. But yeah, for me, the goal was to relax. So hotel with half pension, easy access to the beach, nice swimming pool, nice spa as well. And that was basically my holidays. So, Gabriel, from one corner of the Algarve to the other corner of the Algarve, what's up with
Well,
Albufeira?
well, the Algarve, it's not that big. From Albufeira to Montegordo, we are talking about 50 minutes or so, or from Albufeira to Lagos, 40 minutes. So it's not that big.
Okay,
But yes,
so if it's so close, we need to get along for, well, for a beer or a coffee on the next couple of days,
yeah,
because
exactly.
that's
I mean,
that's the only time I'm gonna have down there.
Portugal is a tiny country, let
Yeah.
alone the Algarve, right? I mean, we can say, the standards here in Portugal is, if I have to drive to Porto, it's a long trip. In Texas, would be just a drive around the
Half.
corner. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
perception
That
is
would
The
be
totally
it.
different.
less
That would be
less
a
than
commute,
half of the
basically.
state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, of course, obviously, as a tour guide, I visit the whole region. I don't go to Vila Real or Montegordo quite a lot, but sometimes I go there, close to Castro Marim, the medieval town right next to the town of Vila Real, too. Montegordo, Praia do Cabeço, Praia Verde, Cabanas. Praia do Barril, you said. I've been doing some walking there too, not in the during the season, but in the off season, because it's possible to walk along the right next to the train too. It's very beautiful, Santa Lucia. I mean, the Algarve is so beautiful and so full of diversity. So when I think about the Algarve, and I see sometimes people just going to the same spots because they heard about the hype. I mean, it's okay. It's beautiful everywhere. I can't just say that there's a bad place in the Algarve. There's not. But I think in my heart I have the eastern side. Maybe because I'm from Faro and I love the islands. I love the long beaches. It's funny because one of these days, I think it was, I don't remember, maybe last 30 or so, because then the northern winds arrive, and then we start having some winds. So I went to a very small cove here, beautiful. I shared some photos, and people, they were, where's this? Where's this? Well, this is Albufeira too. I mean, it's not the old town, but Albufeira is not just the old town. We have all these 25 to 30 kilometers of beaches, and then some they are small coves. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a couple that is living in Vila Real since this year. They are actually from Las Vegas. They came here 3 4 years. They've been coming, and they ended up buying a house in Vila Real because they like that part. So they didn't choose Vila Moura or Albufeira or Lagos or Cavoeiro. They like there also because they are close to Spain, which I think it's a plus, right? You just drive around the bridge, and then you are in a different country. From there, you are 1 hour 15 away from Seville too, very close to Huelva, Puntumbria. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. I like it there. And like you notice, the water there usually it's warmer. So when the people, the water is very cold in Lagos. Of course, the water is cold in Lagos. Usually, it's colder than in Albufeira, than in Faro, than in Vila Real. Sometimes we don't notice the difference, but sometimes the difference is quite big. It's very possible to have 18 in Sagres and 24 in Montegordo easily. It could
Hmm.
happen. Many days it happens actually. So yeah, it was really amazing. Well, I'm glad you enjoy so much this part of the Algarve. And well, today I went with a couple from UK. They've been here already, and they asked me to go off the beaten path. Okay, Gabriel, we are done with Lagos, Albufeira. They are staying here in Olhos d'Água, Carvoeiro. We want to go. We want to immerse themselves. We want to see the orange orchards, the avocados, the carob. We want to try. They try carob for the first time. And then in Monchique, we had a nice happening today too, because here we go. Yeah, you are talking about that. Sometimes even us, sometimes we are also biased because sometimes we have bad experiences. When I see a restaurant in the middle of the square and then there's lots of tourists and with these big images, I also step back, right? But today, because my favorite restaurants in Monchique, they were closed because it's Monday. Okay, I just decided. Of course, I told them, you just want something simple, right? So they want to just split a meal with a salad. I'm trying to avoid I want to lose my belly. It's a hard task in Portugal. So we decided to go there just for a salad, maybe something simple. But actually, they had a very nice menu. This is right in the central square of the small, beautiful Monchique. And then I saw there the menu, and here we go. We got some black pork lizards, which is very tasty, very juicy. The salad, it was amazing. They have a farm in Lancaster, not far from Manchester in the UK. But they said, there's no way our tomatoes, our vegetables there, our greens, they have this taste. So they fell in love through Portugal, through the Algarve, because sometimes we locals, we don't value how good our food is, the quality of the tomatoes and the citrus and of course the seafood and the fish. And we are really lucky busters to live here. So we ended up enjoying a very nice meal, not overpriced. It was absolutely amazing, the quality of the food, and it was in the middle of the square. We just waited 20 minutes. I was expecting a bit more time. So I remember I told him, see, usually I don't stop here because, of course, I know the others. And the others, they are it's always good. There's no way people don't like Luar da Foia or a charrette because those are the best. But sometimes people, they don't want to hit too much. So actually, it's a good spot. And the staff was amazing. The guy was very nice. A young guy working hard, back and forth, because the tables there in the middle of the square, you need to cross the street to go there, back and forth. So actually, it was a very good experience. And then it's funny because as soon as we left Monchique, then we went down to handicraft and pottery shop with tiles, whatever, very beautiful one. I shared in our group, Portugal Unplugged. And I was talking there with the guy, and the guy was anti-tourist trap. I mean, the guy, he was not even care about trying to push people to buy or something. Maybe he's already done with life, but the vibe, it was so great. They ended up buying lots of stuff, and they want to ship something, but the guy there doesn't ship anymore, so they will return with empty luggage. But it was such a nice vibe. And then I was thinking the same. See, I drive here so many times. I see this shop here right next to the street. Many times the road. So many times I see tourists parking there, and I think, well, maybe this is not the best, and it was just perfect. The guy was amazing. It's funny because he didn't charge the whole amount. Maybe because they were with the guide. At least the lady Janice, she told me, Gabriel, he didn't charge the whole. And then I said, well, maybe they have some. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some politics or something. But it was it was really something that I learned again. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes, okay, we shouldn't go here, we shouldn't go there, but sometimes we should give a try, right? We need to avoid tourist traps, but sometimes we think that some place is a tourist trap. And after all, it's not. Like you said, Sergio, some people they have a image not because it's a tourist trap, it's because they don't even know how to explain what is a bitok. So they have the image of a bitok, the steak with the egg and the chips, and it ended up being a very easy way to sell. So actually amazing. Today it was a great day, Silves, Monchique, the groves, and off the beaten path. The Algarve goes way beyond the beaches. You've been in a nice place, beaches, but 3 years ago you went with me to also to Monchique and then the West Coast. Absolutely, it's absolutely amazing. So we are always suggesting here and giving these tips to people to always try to immerse themselves. And sometimes, like I shared today, sometimes doing yeah in your own way, rent a car, it's good, but you never reach the same. You never reach the deep Algarve, the deep Portugal. Why? Because if you don't create connections with the locals, the waiter, the vendor at the market, or through a guide like us, you don't reach the ultimate experience. Maybe it's enough, it's okay, but when people they really want to try local stuff, local delicacies, different experiences, relying on local seasonal people like us, it's the best. It's definitely the best option. Lionel, do you agree with me? I know that.
Well, yes,
Of
I
course.
agree, and I also have a few interesting things to share.
Go ahead.
Um, well, as some might have noticed, just a few days ago, I made another hot topic post about Sintra, about what changed, and about the behavior of some people over there. And of course, I was in Sintra, like I do several times a week. And I went to collect those pictures, and I was wandering around. And of course, then before coming back home, I stopped for lunch. And like I do very often, I go when I'm alone or with just friends or my wife or so. I'll go to check one or another restaurant that I know it exists, but haven't been there to assess the place, to assess the quality. And quality assessment is something that I do a lot in my days off. And I ended up going to a place that it's pretty much locals, just locals, people from working all sorts of workers around. And this is where the things get interesting. A lot of people ask on the Facebook groups, "Oh, we don't want a touristy thing. We don't want a touristy place. We want to go where the locals go." But then I'm pretty sure that most people, if they go to one of these places, they don't know really well what to order, or they don't know how to interact. And this is what makes the difference. The true locals, we have we have a few peculiar things, and we have a few peculiarities in some of these restaurants. That most of them, there's no menu, so don't expect to have a menu handed over to you on the table. Um, Sometimes they have a menu written outside that might be updated or not, because sometimes they say, "Oh, that was the menu from yesterday. We forgot to update it." It already happened to me a few times. But then you just go there, and in this case, I was alone, and very often they just send you to sit next to someone, like sharing a table with someone, because it's a longer table, and it fits a table for six. They can put like four different people eating on that table, that sometimes are just alone having lunch. And it's not uncommon to find someone sitting in front of you or right next to you. Then, because they need to optimize the space, and these restaurants very often they are small, so they really need to optimize the space, because they end up serving more meals. Then, of course, you just ask them, and they have kind of a couple of options, and it's like either this or this. And pretty much it. So some of these restaurants they have very limited options, and the locals go pretty much the same way for a meal, and a full course meal In this case, I can tell you that was like bread starters, like olives and butter, soup, main dish, beverage, coffee, and dessert for 13 euros. Yes, exactly, 13 euros. And the food was great. Okay, the food was great. I hadn't been on that one, although I drove past it very often. There is a very famous restaurant right in front of it. Um, that has a lot of, well, tour operators and buses and so, but these are the places that still exist, and these are where the locals go. The issue is, to go to a place like this, you need to be with someone local that knows how the things work, because it's not the kind of restaurant that works with the same standards. And don't take me wrong, these restaurants live from how many meals they serve per day. So, of course, they expect the person to be, using the table for probably 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then, as soon as you leave, they will be opening a spot. It will be opening a spot for the next person. The same happened today to me, to a place not far from where I live. I go there once in a while for lunch, and it opened at 12, and it's still 10 past 12. I was already inside, and at 12:30 the place was packed with people waiting. And of course, you go there, you order your food, you eat, you move on, and the table is getting cleaned for someone else. But it's pretty much this kind of things that most people are not used to. And when people ask really to have the local experience or to go where the locals go, they might find it a bit overwhelming or a bit confusing sometimes, because they are not really used to how these places work. But these are the real deal.
Hmm.
Then the other thing, and just mentioning this, a lot of people expect the bill to be brought directly to the table, and if you don't ask for the check, if you don't ask for the bill, generally they don't force it to you. They don't bring it directly to you that way. But this, just keeping the topic of the restaurants, just I'm going to leave here two tips that I tell often to my guests. Lunchtime, try to enter a restaurant between 12 to 12:30 if possible, because it's the earliest slot of the opening, and normally it's quieter and service it's a little bit faster. If you are a bit on the go, that's a good time to go to a restaurant, because going there 1:30 expected to be very busy, and very often there's no tables. And then for dinner, the same thing. I know that a lot of people like to have dinner early, and they still find that in Portugal we have dinner quite late, having dinner at 7:30 or 8 p.m. But going for dinner around 7:15, normally it's a good pick, because that's the earlier side of dinner as well, and that sometimes helps also to speed up the service. And then you have the other side of the story. You're also helping the business by not taking over a table right in the middle of their serving time, by not taking over a table for a long time. That allows them to accommodate someone else. And of course, it's a business, so they will be very thankful for that. But this just to say that it's still possible to go for a nice meal. It's still possible to find very nice restaurants. You just need to know what are the signs to search for and what to search for. And now, in the summertime, yes, it will be very hard to get to certain places. And when
Yeah.
people come to the Facebook groups and they ask for the best, oh, which is the best restaurant? Which is the best where the locals go? Which is the best for this, the best for that? Most likely they end up with a list of 20, 30, 50 or more recommendations. They will be even more confused than they were in the beginning. So if people really know what to search, and you were just mentioning, Sergio, about the tablecloth, the paper towels. I'm going to give another hint. If the serving trays, the serving dishes are normally in stainless steel, that also means that, it's a quite local kind of place, because normally the paper towel and the stainless steel serving dishes, the serving trays, normally they will show you a place that is quite local run. But then, of course, there are a few other things. You see, by example, by looking at the other tables around, instead of seeing a bottle of wine, you see well, a pitcher of wine or one of those carafes of wine, whatever. Normally, that's the house style wine. That's also a good thing, and normally those wines are quite good, very decent for the meals and a very decent price. So we, the locals, we know a little bit these signs, and of course, when we look to the place, um, we really know what to search for. And I see people going to places that are supposedly local, but they are falling for fake authenticity. And this is another thing that,
Oh,
in fact, I've been
oh,
telling quite a lot, and this can become a hot topic for one of the future
oh,
unplugged
yes.
live.
Very hot, very
The
hot.
fake, yes, the fake authenticity that I see everywhere,
Yeah.
not even in shops, okay, not just even in shops, in restaurants, and unfortunately also in tourism professionals. You
Ah,
probably might remember the well, the article with the chimneys of Sintra being an ice cream factory, or the horse in Lisbon being the horse of Alfama. So that was a very controversial TV article just
yeah.
over a year ago. But we see a lot of fake authenticity, even in the business, and people think that they are really well working with a local or traveling with a local, and that person well, hasn't been local at all. But this is in fact something that I just wanted to leave over here. The summer is arriving, it's peak season. Most places will be crowded, but
Oh, yeah.
don't just fall for the first thing that you see in front of you. We are here to help. We are here to answer your questions. We are here to, sorry, to give you some tips on what to search for, but providing you a list of the best restaurants or the best places. Well, the best for who? Okay, I'm pretty sure that if the three of us would choose a restaurant across the country, each one would recommend a different restaurant. Although the three of us, I remember we had a very nice lunch in in a great place
Yeah, exactly.
in the
Yes.
center of the country. But it's pretty much about the personal taste. So instead of just asking for the best, give some pointers, let us know what you like, what you don't like, tell us what you are really searching for, because the best, we can say the three of us, we are the best. Well, we are the best guides at Portugal Unplugged, because we are the three of us that are over here. So um,
There's
that's
no one
how
else.
exactly. But that's really what I like to just to address over here. We love to help, but we also need a bit more input from you to
Yeah.
to give you exactly what, according to your preferences, according to your description, we feel might be a good option for you. Well, if it will be the best, you'll decide after it. So, time just flies, and
Exactly.
final thoughts from you, Sergio. Final thoughts.
Well, the final thoughts. I don't have anything. I'm still thinking about my vacation time, my holidays, and
Yeah,
just
I
the
can see that
relaxation.
you're still in a very relaxed mood.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm still thinking about it and the memories that we've created over that week,
I
because at the end of the day, that's what's important for us. And as you were mentioning, Lionel, traveling, and this is something that I've always been. It's almost like a trademark that I can use. Traveling is a personal experience, so each person needs to figure out what is the most important things for them. Go from
Mhm.
there. Tell us what you will want to see, what you want to experience, how you want to see it. Um, any questions, any doubts that you might have, feel free to ask them. We're here to help. Um, but always take all of the opinions, including our own, with a pinch of salt, because well, we have this model, the unplugged model in all of us, and we want to steer you towards things that you are probably not going to be very familiar with. And well, as we were talking about restaurants, this can be a a little bit scary sometimes, but as you just heard from all of the experiences of the three of us, um, over here in Portugal, it actually works. So you'll be actually very hard pressed to have a bad meal over here in Portugal. I would say that you'll also be very hard pressed to have a bad experience over here in Portugal if you are honest about the things that you want to see, the things that you want to do, and if you reach out to the correct people who are the most indicated ones to answer your questions. I'm not going to pretend that I'm the most indicated guy to answer questions about the Algarve or about Sintra. I'm not. These two guys over here next to me, they are the experts on that. But, well, I would say that I do a pretty good job for the north of Portugal and particularly to the Douro Valley. So, Gabriel.
Well, yeah, just to finish my thoughts, just putting all things together. I mean, we are not easy to use as a Viator, Get Your Guide, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, whatever. Because I know we live in a world where everyone wants convenience, just something easy to find. Oh, what the hell is asking me what I like? I don't care about this. I just want to what do you have for me? Well, we are a bit anti-mainstream hypes and whatever, but actually, when you really want an immersive experience, you need to find people like us. Not just three of us. There's many more tour guides around the country. Many also concierges, people who work here and there, and they really like to help you. So the fast way, sometimes it's not the best way. Actually, most times it's not. So lose a bit, spare a bit of your time and try to reach someone local. I mean, Gabriel Lima, Pedro Abrantes, Johnny Tours, Sergio, Manuel Tapada, so many guides around here. They can really help you to enjoy the best of Portugal and not necessarily investing more, because actually we know where to cut the fat, we know where to cut the waste, and then you're going to end up enjoying more, and you are not going to pay more for that. So from my hand, I just want to wish you a great week ahead. We'll be here next week.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. What I write the most around it's about optimization, optimize, and a lot of people waste so much money by trying to save money using cheaper options. Then they end up wasting more money because they wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
Optimization, it's one of the things that it's hard to achieve, but it's all about well, exactly as you said, cutting the fat where you can to optimize your travel and to make it really worth it. Because just to give you an example, I can say that in certain situations, using the train, it's the cheapest way to waste your money, and it ends up costing a lot more to use the train than people may think. Because they
Mhm.
are just wasting time and not seeing a lot of stuff that they could be seeing, because they just took what apparently was the cheapest option to travel. But that's for another store. That's for another live. That's another topic. I've wrote several articles about that. But yes, optimizing your travels make total sense. And we as business owners, we know one or another thing about optimizing the itineraries around here. So yes, from my end, well, thank you very much for everyone who was watching. Thank you, the two of you, for well joining the Unplugged Live as well. And tomorrow I'm gonna hit the road. So I'm going in the search of well some warmer waters in the Algarve. So let's hope that it's still there. And well, I will be back next week. Next week I will be on tour again. So we'll be back here 9:30 p.m. Lisbon time. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Bye bye,
Have a
guys.
good
Bye bye,
week.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, all.